It's a story that has absolutely haunted an entire nation for a decade. It's a mystery that starts on a quiet, sunny street and just spirals into this labyrinth of false leads, shocking theories, and a heartbreaking, deafening silence. This is the story of a little boy in a superhero suit who, in the blink of an eye, just vanished. So let's really get into this. Try to picture it. It's a beautiful spring morning in a tiny, sleepy town. A 3-year-old boy, just bursting with energy, is playing hide and seek. He's roaring, pretending he's a tiger. His foster mom can hear him. And then, she can't. The silence that followed that roar is a silence that has never, ever been broken. And before we try to unravel this heartbreaking story, if you believe in the importance of understanding these complex cases, please take a moment to subscribe. Your support is what allows us to keep bringing clarity to the stories that really truly matter. To even begin to understand that silence, we have to first understand who was lost. We have to start with the little boy right at the heart of it all. William Tyrrell's life was already complicated, long before he disappeared. He was born to parents who were struggling with their own serious issues, and so he was placed into the state's child protection system. He eventually found a home with a pretty well-off foster family in Sydney, and they were actually getting ready to adopt him permanently. So he was this child kind of caught between two different worlds, a vulnerability that just makes what happened next all the more tragic. Okay, so the timeline of that morning is absolutely critical. The family shows up for a visit. William and his sister are playing outside. The foster mom makes a quick cup of tea, makes a phone call, and in those few minutes, he's gone. A really crucial detail would come out later. After the family does this frantic search of the property themselves, there's a delay, a nearly 20-minute delay before anyone calls 000 for help. It's such a small window of time, but it would become this massive, massive point of contention for years to come. When that call for help finally went out, the response was just enormous. A whole community, and pretty soon the whole country, mobilized in this desperate search for the little boy in the Spider-Man suit. You have to try and picture this scene. We're talking hundreds of people, police, emergency volunteers, regular folks from town, all combing through this incredibly dense Australian bushland, just screaming his name. You've got helicopters chopping the air overhead, sniffer dogs on the ground. The hope, of course, was that he just wandered off, that he was lost and scared, but that they would find him. But as the hours dragged into days, that hope just started to fade, and it was replaced by a much, much darker fear. With zero sign of William, the police investigation, which was called Task Force Roseanne, just started chasing down any lead they could find. A local repairman, a guy named Bill Spedding, was suddenly thrown into this national spotlight. His life and his reputation were absolutely destroyed before he was eventually totally cleared. He even sued the police. Theories about local pedophile rings were looked into, but they just led nowhere. For years, the official story was really clear. This was an opportunistic abduction. The main theory was that his bright red and blue suit had so tragically made him an easy target for some predator lurking nearby. So for 7 long years, the search for William was always a search for an abductor. The focus was always on who took him. And then, in 2021, the entire investigation was just completely flipped on its head. This one question changed literally everything. After all that time, investigators started to seriously consider a possibility they had dismissed years ago. They shifted their focus away from the vast, scary bushland and back to the one place everyone thought was safe, the grandmother's yard where he was last seen. The investigation took such a dramatic pivot. On one side, you have the theory that drove this case for nearly a decade, a stranger abduction. And on the other side, this new, horrifying theory emerged, that William had accidentally fallen from the house's balcony, and that his death was covered up. Suddenly, police weren't looking for a kidnapper anymore. They were looking for a tiny body hidden somewhere on that property. This new theory kicked off a massive new search. The whole property was declared a crime scene all over again. Police brought in excavators, dug up garden beds, sifted through every inch of soil under the house. They used every tool they had: cadaver dogs, ground-penetrating radar, forensic experts. They were so sure they were going to find him there. But after weeks and weeks of this intense searching, they found nothing. No bones, no clothes, no William. So now the police had this really compelling new theory that completely reframed the whole case. The only problem? They had zero physical evidence to actually back it up. This is one of the most chilling moments from the entire coronial inquest. In a secretly recorded phone call that was played for the whole court to hear, William's foster mother made this exact comment. Now, to the police, it sounded like she knew something, maybe even a confession. To her supporters, it was just the rambling of a grieving parent under unbelievable pressure. Either way, it was an absolute bombshell. So at the inquest, the police laid out their whole case against the foster mother, who, I have to say, has always tearfully and vehemently denied any involvement at all. They pointed to that 20-minute delay in calling for help. They presented evidence of this mysterious car trip she supposedly took right around the time William went missing. And then forensic experts testified that his synthetic Spider-Man suit would have survived out in the bush for decades. The fact that not a single scrap of it has ever been found is one of the most baffling parts of this entire case. And yet, it all comes back to this one simple, brutal fact. You have a powerful circumstantial case, sure, but it's a case without a core. No body has ever been found. No one has confessed, and there is not a single piece of forensic evidence that definitively links the foster mother, or anyone else for that matter, to William's disappearance and his presumed death. The mystery of what actually happened to William is a tragedy all on its own. But his story also reveals this deeper, more systemic tragedy about the very systems that are designed to protect children just like him. People following the case started using this heartbreaking phrase to describe William's story, that he was lost twice. First, he was lost to his biological family when the state took him away for his own safety, and then he was lost again, this time to everyone, forever, when he vanished from that yard. The term just speaks to this profound, multi-layered failure. The impact of this case is just immense. It forced this really harsh look at the secrecy inside the child protection system. It raised serious questions about the police investigation, which, spent years destroying the lives of innocent men, while maybe ignoring what was right in front of them all along. And for the public, it just left this deep, painful scar, a feeling that the systems we all rely on to keep kids safe had failed this little boy at every single turn. So after a full decade of searching, we have no real answers. That $1 million reward stands as this monument to the desperation for a breakthrough, but it just sits there, unclaimed. Both of these theories, the abduction and the accident, they just leave this trail of unanswered questions and unresolved grief. When I look at this case, the thing that hits me hardest is the sheer lack of closure. For his families, both biological and foster, and for the public, the silence around what happened to William is a wound that just refuses to heal. We're left with these two powerful stories, these two very different scenarios, but in the end, no proof. So what do you think happened on that day in 2014? If you found this explainer informative, please hit that like button, and feel free to share your respectful thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. And to make sure you don't miss our next deep dive, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching and for wanting to understand. It really does mean the world to us that you're here to get to the heart of these important and often very difficult stories. And that right there is the question that remains. After all the searches, all the theories, all the tears, all the broken hearts, where is he? It's a question that just continues to echo across Australia, a heartbreaking mystery for a little boy who was lost and has simply never been found. Join us next time as we seek clarity on another complex story.